Thank you, Toastmaster. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to begin my body language speech with not one question, but three questions. And the first question I'm going to ask is, do you ever make impulsive decisions? I do sometimes. And when you make those impulsive decisions, do you regret them? I do a lot. And once those decisions are made and you're into the situation, do you then get really into it, but then lose interest into it after a couple of weeks? I do a lot. Now, about 18 months ago, I made a very rash decision. And it was one that I actually didn't regret and one I'm glad that I decided to do. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests, this is my speech about making the decision to join this club, KingsSpeakers, and it's entitled KingsSpeakers, My Journey So Far. So why did I join KingsSpeakers? Well, pretty much just like most of everybody here, I was really uncomfortable with public speaking. I'd done a presentation in my job and I did quite well on it, but I felt really uncomfortable standing in front of a large group of people. So I realized, look, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to take myself out of my comfort zone and put myself into a different zone where I'm going to be challenged. And I did that. Now, I still remember my very first night at KingsSpeakers. It was a dark, wintry November night, and we had our meeting in the church around the corner from the hotel. Now, I went there alone, so I walked in by myself. There was a load of people I'd never met before. And the first person that spoke to me was Scott Thompson. And Scott said, hello, how you doing? Welcome, blah, blah, blah. But I also remember the first speech that I heard, and that was from our past president, Anna. And Anna gave a fantastic speech that night. And it was all about saying no to things. Now, that speech really resonated with me. Because I've always been a yes man. Yeah, I'll go to that festival, I'll go to that concert, I'll do this thing I don't have time for, I'll spend that money I can't afford. But I've always been a yes man. And that night, that speech really resonated with me. But it was a speech that kind of set me off on my journey. Also that night, it was the first time meeting Susanna. Now, Susanna spoke to me in an accent, in a Northern Ireland accent, the same as my own. And I thought to myself, this is the best Northern Ireland impression I've ever seen anybody do. But it turned out that Susanna actually grew up in Northern Ireland and she went to school there. So she wasn't putting on an impression, that was her real accent. So that night I met everybody, I met Paul, who kindly got me to agree to sign up on the night, because if I hadn't signed up, I would have went home, I would have talked myself out of it, and I wouldn't have come back. So it was a really good, powerful night for me. Now, 2 weeks later, I did my first role at the meeting, and just like Nikki tonight, I was the harp master. I prepared really well for it, and I stood up in front of everybody, but I was really nervous for the first bit of it. And it took me a while to get into gear, and it wasn't until the second part of the harp master role where I was divvying out chocolate that I actually started to enjoy it. So I got off to a good start in KingsSpeakers, and in the new year in January, I did my very first table topic, and I done quite well that night. I got first place, and I felt incredibly proud. I felt proud that I came and joined this new organization by myself. I'd met these new people, and here I was standing in front of an audience, given a table topic for the very first time, and had managed to win first place. Now, winning first place or second place or third place is completely irrelevant when it comes to public speaking, because we're not in competition with each other. We're in competition with one person, and that is ourselves. We're there to get better and grow. But there are times when we are in competition, when we're doing a contest, which we'll be doing next month for the humorous speech contest. So January went well for me, but then unfortunately I disappeared for about 3 months. I went off on holidays to Thailand, and then I was sick, and then I was back home in Ireland, and I didn't come back again to KingsSpeakers until April. And it was 5 months later until I did my icebreaker speech. And I went in and I did it, and again I felt really nervous, but I got through it and it went good, it went well. But then I disappeared again for another 3 months. I was training for a half marathon at the time. I was back and forward from Ireland, and I had a lot on. And I kind of put King Speakers to the one side. Now, thankfully, Anna messaged me and encouraged me to come back. And I decided I would, but not only would I come back, I decided I would really take this seriously, and I would commit to this. I would commit to going to every meeting, and I would commit to really growing myself in my public speaking journey. And that's what I did. I attended every meeting for 3 months solidly. I then went and visited a number of other clubs in London. I think I visited about 3 clubs in the space of 1 week before my Toastmaster role. And I finally started to get my ground, my bearing in the club. I took part in the humorous speech contest in September, and I did quite well in that, and I got first place for that. And I was massively proud to represent the club in the humorous speech competition a month later. Now, I didn't do so well in that there, but the one thing that I will always remember that night was the huge amount of people that turned up just to support me. There was about 15 people from the club, and it was just amazing to see, when I was starting my speech, all of these people up in the gallery, you know, willing me on to do well. And that was something that I won't forget. Now, I'm about 18 months into my journey. This year, I've taken on the VPE role, and it's been a real challenge, especially since we've moved from normal meetings to weekly meetings. But it's something I really cherish and something I really enjoy. It's, for me, seeing the progress that other people are making and myself are making is positive. Now, I'm going to finish off with just one word of advice. There is a comedian called Jerry Seinfeld. He's hugely successful, and his success is down to the fact that he does not break the chain. And if you are continuing on in your journey, if you can remember to try and not break the chain, i.e. maintain your interest, go to as many meetings as you can, and continue to practice your public speaking. That is my body language speech. Thank you very much for listening to me on my journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. So, timekeeper, can we have a minute on?
Okay, so let's start from the things I like the most. I like the very nice hand gesticulation. Yeah, you almost look like a real Italian. So, you know, it could be in the middle of Rome. It would be, you know, perfectly fit in. So that was nice. The speech was very, it was paused and clear. So that to me is very helpful. My first language is not English, and I know that when I'm listening to people talking in English, mainly like if you are from, you know, the UK, etc., it's a little bit harder. But then you were very clear, very paused, so you could reach also people that are not native language English speakers, right? So that was good. I like the head movement. So you were, you know, doing some things that gives some fluidity to the speech. So I enjoyed that as well. So it was a mix between the hands and the head and the body. So it was good. The third thing I really enjoyed was when you were describing some parts of your speech, you really could put some images in, at least in my head. Yeah, so when you start describing your first meeting, you start saying it was a dark November evening. You know, I almost could feel the moist evening in London, a little chilly. So it was really interesting. So I think you got you did a very good job trying to put the image on the listener head, right? So that was nice. I think in the beginning it was a little bit not so fluid, yeah. So I could feel that it was kind of prepared, was a little bit rigid, but after the first minutes, it became very relaxed and fluid. So I like it a lot. Overall, my feeling is it was a very light, sympathetic, not intimidating, and not pretentious speak. So very likable speech. Yeah, so that's very good. And in the end, you tied everything up with the example from Jerry Seinfeld that many of us we can relate. So that was good as well to give an example that people can relate. So you tied everything, the main ideas, with a nice example. Yeah, an improvement point, maybe, you know, to me at certain points it looked a little bit over prepared, but you know, like if I could speak like you, I would be so happy. So I just came up with a little point just to put something, but so yeah, so I think that's my evaluation. Thanks so much.